Tuesday, September 6. Worshipping what you know not. As we have seen numerous times, even with all the intricate and deep forms of worship that the Lord had instituted for Israel, it was not the forms alone that the Lord cared about. The forms and traditions and liturgy were all means to an end, and that end was a person surrendered in body and mind to his or her Creator and Redeemer. It is much easier, however, to make one's religion a series of formulas, traditions, and outward acts than it is to daily die to self and surrender in humility and faith to the Lord. This surely goes a long way in explaining why the Bible deals so much with those whose hearts are not with God, regardless of how correct their forms of worship are. Now consider excerpts from John 4, verses 1 through 24. What important point about worship was Jesus making to the Samaritan woman? Why was he pointing her away from specific places of worship? Here's the text. When the Lord knew that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John, though Jesus himself did not baptize but his disciples, he left Judea and departed again to Galilee. But he needed to go through Samaria, so he came to a city called Sychar. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied from his journey, sat thus by the well. A woman of Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink," for his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. Then the woman of Samaria said to him, "How is it that you, being a Jew, ask a drink from me, a Samaritan woman?" For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. Jesus answered and said to her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is who says to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." The woman said to him, "Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where then do you get that living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself?" Jesus answered and said to her, "Whoever drinks of this water will thirst again, but whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him will never thirst. But the water that I shall give him will become in him a fountain of water springing up into everlasting life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water that I may not thirst, nor come here to draw." Jesus said to her, "Go call your husband and come here." The woman answered and said, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You have well said, 'I have no husband,' for you have had 5 husbands, and the one whom you now have is not your husband. In that you spoke truly." The woman said to him, "Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and you Jews say that in Jerusalem is the place where one ought to worship." Jesus said to her, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews, but the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father is seeking such to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." Jesus uses the powerful phrase, "Woman, believe me," to show her that true worship went far beyond the outward forms and places of worship. This mountain, as he called it, was Mount Gerizim, where the Samaritans had built a temple. Of course, that would be what one would expect a Jew to say to a Samaritan. But Jesus did not stop there. He included even Jerusalem. Thus, early in his earthly ministry, Jesus was in a very broad way pointing to what he later came right out and said, "There shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down." Matthew 24, verse 2. In all this, Jesus was working to give the woman the living water, according to John 4:10. He wanted her to see that a personal relationship with her Creator and Redeemer was the foundation of worship. His reference to Jerusalem in John 4:21 proved that he was pointing to something beyond the system of sacrifice and worship that he himself had created. In what ways can all the aspects of your worship experience help you deepen your relationship with God?